I'm not really a reader that pays attention to book lists or prize lists, but has the Goodreads Choice Awards list always been this laughable? Hi BookTube, it's Kim at middle of the book march. I always start to forget my own channel name. This is my bookish week for Saturday, September. Why am I saying September? December 12th. Oh, holy crap. So welcome to my bookish week. This is my Saturday video where I typically talk about what happened in my previous bookish week, what I've read, what I'm currently reading, if I bought anything, which I did, but that's a different video. It's going to be embarrassing. I'm talking about you, Doris. So let me talk to you about what I read last week. I finished Little Constructions by Anna Burns for a buddy read with Amelia Reads. This is, Anna Burns is the 2018 Booker winner from Ireland for Milkman, which I absolutely loved. And this is her novel. This was her second novel. It was published originally in 2007, re-released in the US shortly after Milkman won the prize. This is the really wacky, quirky story of a disorganized Irish crime family in Tiptoe Floorboard, the Doe clan, D-O-E. And the patriarch and leader of this crime family is John Doe. There's also a John Doe, one word, who is kind of the ruffian, the hitman, the muscle of this crime family. However, it's not really about them. It's about the women, and the women in the Doe family all have names, or the majority of them have names beginning with J. At the very beginning of the book, Jetty steals a Kalashnikov and some of the wrong type of ammo to go and shoot and kill John Doe, the patriarch of this disorganized crime family. And Burns writes the subsequent events that led up to that moment. It's really hilarious, and it's twisted, dark, funny, because the actual themes in the book are quite serious. There is an underlying current of family trauma and the after effects of generational trauma, which includes incest, child abuse, sexual abuse, rape.
What are you doing?
I'm doing a video.
Can I help?
No.
Oh.
Okay, bye.
I'm lonely.
I'm not going to be long. It's going to be like 15 minutes.
That's long. I'm lonely.
All right, bye. Can you please leave? It's running right now.
Include it in the video.
Bye. It's quite obvious in the narrative that there's a genetic component of mental illness throughout the entire Doe family. One of their members, Janine, and her name is kind of a compound name, Janine, Justine, something like that. She's conspicuously mentally ill. There's a lot of discussion about schizophrenia. Each of the Doe family, including their children, hears noises and voices, and it's rampant throughout the family. So there's a lot of discussion about that. There's a bunch of triggers in here of mental illness, of sexual assault, of incest. So there's very heavy, serious themes throughout the novel. But what Anna Burns does is she's writing about those things in the middle of a setting in Northern Ireland in a crime family. So there's a lot of discussion about blood, murder, death, dead bodies. But along with that, those are the points where she's funniest, believe it or not. Beyond that, when she's talking about generational abuse, very serious themes, but she talks about that to a point and then reverts back to some really funny narrative. There's a really interesting conclusion. There are a bunch of side characters. There are weird names. Not everybody is named, unlike in Milkman, but they have weird names, and there's weird titles that some of the people hold based on their jobs. And there's a great conclusion at the end of the story with a positive ending. The one quibble I have is she uses an omniscient narrator that she doesn't really name, and she doesn't really tell you what role this narrator plays in the family saga. So I didn't enjoy that. But one thing that comes through really strongly is her writing style. And from 2007, when this book came out, to 2018, when Milkman came out, you can see how the style in Milkman developed from this book, Little Constructions. So I read it with Amelia Reeds, and we both gave it 4 stars. It's definitely an interesting book. Very, very Anna Burns. Tangents, not as long of stream of consciousness passages as in Milkman. Tangents, twisted story, weird names. It's definitely an interesting read. I will recommend it if you're a fan of Milkman. So, another novel I did finish. I finished Jane Eyre finally by Charlotte Bronte. I'm not going to say a lot about this book because I want to pair this with Wide Sargasso Sea, which is a book I'm going to start shortly, because these two were my couple of books project books, my first one, first pairing. But I think most, if not all of us, know the story of Jane Eyre. I'm not going to tell the story right now. I don't want to spoil it for anybody that hasn't read it. But I did watch the movie years ago, and I have since rewatched the movie and the miniseries. They need to be remade. Somebody remake them. The movie is horrible. I think I said that in my last Giggles video. But I did watch the BBC miniseries, I think from 2006, and that was pretty good. But there are some changes that I just did not enjoy. So if you have the time to make a miniseries out of this very long book, do it right. Oh, that's my rant. So Jane Eyre, Victorian England. She's an orphan sent away to a religious boarding school. She gets out by the time she's 18 and joins Thornfield Hall as the governess to Mr. Rochester's ward. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to talk about this with, like I said, Wide Sargasso Sea. But, I mean, there's some problematic aspects to this. Mr. Rochester is not a romantic protagonist. Quite the contrary, but apparently this is one of those classic novels that is not based around a romance, but apparently is considered, their relationship is considered a romance. No, I have some differing opinions on that. I did give it 4 stars. I enjoyed the book. I enjoyed her writing style. It did get a little long, but I may have been really swayed by just finishing Daniel Deronda by George Eliot, so I'm not sure Charlotte Bronte had much of a chance after that. I listened to a poetic essay collection called Shame is an Ocean I Swim Across by Mary Lambert. This was published in 2018. I'm looking down at my laptop notes. Mary Lambert is a poet, an author, a musician, a spoken word artist. She has collaborated with Macklemore on the song Same Love. She provided some vocals and music to that song. She has put out her own LPs and EPs, I think they're called. I don't know what those are called. I don't pay attention to that. I make myself sound so old. She's put out a few collections, and this one, Shame is an Ocean I Swim Across, is brutal. I found this on Scribd, and I really wanted to listen to something that was contemporary and artistic and vocal. This did not disappoint, but it is raw and brutal. Mary Lambert is a queer artist and an advocate for LGBTQ+ folks and community. She wrote this collection dramatizing her childhood incest, sexual abuse, rapes, suicide attempts, bipolar disorder, and experiences with coming out as LGBTQ. After coming of age in a family with a Christian fundamentalist background. There's every trigger is in this collection. Don't pick it up if that will affect you negatively. It was very difficult to listen to. I related too much to much of it, but there's a weird point where it became very satisfying. She also discusses, a lot of the collection discusses body image and body acceptance and body love. And one of the best quotes for that topic within this collection is, "Love your body like your mother loved your baby feet." I just love that. When I heard that, I stopped and went back and I listened to it a couple of times because it just brings a picture to your mind of exactly what that means. If you've had an infant and you can't get enough of their little chubby baby feet or their baby smell when you smell their heads, that's that type of love that she's talking about. Love yourself unconditionally. Love who you are. Love the body you're in at the time. But she does discuss really traumatic events. I don't want to get into that because I don't want this review to be about that. But she's exceptionally raw. She narrates the audio herself. The one thing that I didn't enjoy that much is she provides original music as a background track to her spoken word. And I would rather have heard her words without the music. When it's poetry or poetic essays, which is kind of what I'm describing this as, I would rather have not had that background distraction. I would rather have just heard her voice. But the collection is very good. It's not a thing that I would describe as enjoying, but it's well done. She's fantastic at narrating it, and she's a very young woman. I think she's barely 30 or just over 30. So extremely talented, has a lot to say, and definitely somebody to continue to keep an eye on. The other thing I finished was a very short piece on Scribd called Letter to a Bigot by Miriam Gerba. Miriam Gerba's name might sound familiar because she wrote a very scathing review of the novel American Dirt by Janine Cummins, and that appeared in the magazine Tropics of Meta. Miriam Gerba is a 40-ish something Mexican-American woman. She is a queer woman, LGBTQ plus community. She lives in California with herself, her bio says. And this letter I'm going to look down at my notes here. Sorry about that. She wrote this letter in 2020. So this was just published on Scribd at the end of October of this year. And this was a letter to George Hobbs, who was the mayor of Santa Maria, which is where she's from, Santa Maria, California. He was a mayor off and on from 1966 to 1994. And he was fairly guilty, not fairly, he was guilty of racist policies before Trump was even in office, but it was very Trumpian. And she talks about her experiences as a Mexican-American young person and teenager. Her parents, I believe, are immigrants from Mexico, and I think she was born in the States. But she writes this letter to him addressing his policies, addressing what that did to her personally as a child, as a teenager, the things that happened to her in school based on the atmosphere of Santa Maria at the time she was there, what she experienced through school as far as sexual assault, abuse, constant bullying, but bullying is just not a severe enough word. And she narrates this letter to George Hobbs and addresses him directly, is not shy about providing statistics for many of his policies, for why she's addressing him directly, and again, how that affected her as a Mexican-American young woman. I can't say I enjoyed listening to this, the content of it, but it's extremely powerful. If you have Scribd, go on and listen to it. Give yourself, 20 minutes, 30 minutes to listen to this letter. It's really enlightening. It's really important. And I'm very glad she did it, and I'm glad she did it out loud. Really quickly, Miriam Gerba is the author of Mean, and it's been hailed by Oprah or O Magazine as an LGBTQ plus book of the year. So that's actually something that I immediately put on my Goodreads as want to read. So those are the things I finished last week: 2 novels, 2 audio pieces, 1 collection, 1 letter. And I'm just going to quickly show you, accompanied by a musical score, of what I'm currently reading. interesting thing is I don't often reread, but two of these are rereads. This one, which I'm reading from my Critical Chicks in Real Life book group, and Beloved, which I've read several times, 2 or 3 other times, years ago. And this is a reread for Buddy Read that I'm doing with Karen and Noelle with our These Truths read-along group. And it's, I think at this point in my life, it's even more powerful than I remember it being many years ago. So that's what I did last week. Those were the things I read. There's been a lot of bookish things going on, but I'm not going to talk about that quite yet. Yeah, if anybody saw Doris's latest obscene book haul video, get ready. Because the books that I showed you in my dimly lit Bookish Giggles video are starting to arrive. And I actually traipsed out to a local used bookstore yesterday, and I can't tell you how happy of the things I discovered, but that's going to be a different video. So I think that's about it. I still have a couple of mystery bags of books to give out. I'm going to try to do that today, and I'm going to drive around my little town and give my friends some mystery bags. That's about it. We're going to decorate today. I don't decorate for Christmas early. It's usually at least a week after Thanksgiving. We're going to do it today. We're doing it. It's going to happen. So write a comment below about any of the books you saw or anything I discussed. Anything that pops into your mind, put it down below. I love to talk to you guys in the comments. If you haven't subscribed and you're moved to, please do that. Thank you very much. Hope you're reading some good stuff, and I will see you in the next video, everybody. Thanks. Bye.